Well, hello there. Welcome to another episode of Wisconsin Fan hyping up Wisconsin sports. Now, I know the NBA world is exploding over the James Harden trade, sending him to the Brooklyn Nets. So instead of talking about that Eastern Conference dynasty, let's talk about the actual dynasty that's going to be happening in the next 5 to 10 years, the Milwaukee Bucks. I think it's safe to say that the bubble didn't really go so well for the Milwaukee Bucks. After struggling in the regular season in the bubble, the Bucks just never really picked up rhythm, struggling to beat Orlando in the first round and then getting absolutely smacked by the Miami Heat in the second round. And the narrative became that it was Giannis that was a problem for the Milwaukee Bucks, that he was the one that was holding them back. And while Giannis didn't play so well, he is far from the one to blame for the Bucks' poor performance against the Miami Heat. Just look at the players that Jon Horst had tried to build around Giannis. Eric Bledsoe, who never performed well with Giannis. George Hill, who while in 2019 played well in the bubble, was just a distraction. Ersan Ilyasova, who is far past his ability to play in an actual NBA. And Dante DiVincenzo, who Bucks fans thought was going to be the next Malcolm Brogdon, but just never could get to that next step. But you know who did play great? Khris Middleton. When Giannis went out Game 4, Khris Middleton single-handedly won that game for the Milwaukee Bucks, having one of the best fourth quarter/overtime takeovers I've ever seen from an individual NBA player. Now, the consensus has been since the rise of Giannis, how can we build players around Giannis? But I think Jon Horst realized this offseason that that was the wrong idea. Instead, what players work best with Khris Middleton? Giannis's game isn't complicated. He's the Derrick Henry of the NFL. He just drives straight into the paint, and if the paint's not open, he kicks. But Middleton's game requires a lot more finesse. Khris Middleton has that ability to score no matter where he is on the court, no matter how bad the shot looks. Only KD can really score like Khris Middleton does. Now, I'm not saying Khris Middleton is a top 5 player in the NBA. All I'm saying is that Khris Middleton can score anywhere on the court in any facet. So if you can surround players that can help Khris score efficiently and allow Khris to facilitate more, that's the way to go about it. And that's exactly what Jon Horst did. He took Eric Bledsoe, a 6'1" version of Giannis, and traded it in for Jrue Holiday, who's a 6'4" version of Khris Middleton. Jrue Holiday is an amazing facilitator and one of the better all-around defenders in the NBA. He can guard 1 to 5. Plus, just like Khris Middleton, Jrue Holiday has that ability to really score on any footing and anywhere on the court, which perfectly complements when you see Holiday and Middleton on the floor together. Then you get rid of sharpshooters like Kyle Korver and George Hill, who are really one-dimensional, especially in the playoffs, and you replace them with shot creator DJ Augustine, who can run the offense when Middleton and Giannis are on the floor, and Bryn Forbes, who, yes, is a defensive liability, but is one of the better catch-and-shoot guys in the NBA. So with these changes, the Bucks' offense is completely different than it was last year. The first thing that you'll notice to start off the year is Giannis is still a bulldozer, but he's a bulldozer that's thinking. Giannis's first look now when he's driving to the paint isn't to dunk on somebody. It's looking for who is helping to dish it to his three-point shooters. And this is the biggest difference between the Milwaukee Bucks last year and the Milwaukee Bucks this year. While the Bucks last year were number 1 in three-point shots, they weren't a three-point making team, only shooting 35% on the entire year, which ranked 18th in the league. Now, when you have a team surrounded by people who take three-point shots but don't necessarily make three-point shots, that makes a lot of sense. But that's what's different about this Milwaukee Bucks team. They're not three-point shooters. They're three-point makers. The Bucks still lead the league in three-point shots through 11 games, but they're number 2 in three-point percentage, shooting 42% on the year. Jrue Holiday is shooting 38.5. Bryn Forbes is shooting over 40%. Even Bobby Portis is shooting 45% from the three-point line and 55% from the field. But you can't talk about shooting efficiency without talking about the master, Khris Middleton. Khris Middleton last year was 2 buckets away from becoming the 4th player to have a 50-40-90 year while scoring above 20 points per game. And Khris saw that and he was like, man, 50-40-90. I can do better than that. Currently, right now, Chris Middleton is having a 55, 50, 95 year. The argument can be made right now that Chris Middleton is setting himself up to be an all-star starter this year. And that's not just the opinion of a guy who roots for Wisconsin sports and is making a video hyping up the Milwaukee Bucks. That's just the general opinion of everybody. So with the regular season, the goal for the Bucks really isn't to be the #1 seed, it's to find that consistent 9-man rotation that really helps them do well. And right now, that's kind of tough, which leads me to my fears with the Bucks. The first being Coach Bud. When it comes to playoff time, when we play against good teams, I don't want to see DJ Wilson and Thanasis on the court. I don't. Bud has this tendency of not wanting to overwork the starters and playing the bench way too early and playing way too many people. Bud, when the game's on the line, I want to see Giannis and Chris Middleton on the floor. I don't think I have to ask that. But the bubble proved that that is a necessity, that is something I need to ask of you. So, for the regular season, I'm hoping Coach Bud finds his 9 guys that he really likes and then tells the others to sit on the bench and wipe Giannis's ass and tell him how good of a job he's doing. Because I don't want to see him on the court. Another thing that really concerns me is Giannis's shooting. Not his three-point shooting. Giannis is shooting 5 threes a game. I don't care if he doesn't make any of them. The fact that he's shooting them at least makes defenses respect his ability to shoot. And I expect him to get better as the year goes on. No. I'm talking about his free throw shooting. You know how earlier I compared Giannis to Derrick Henry and how he's just a bulldozer in the paint? Yeah, defenses have figured that out too. And what they're doing is not allowing him to score in the paint. Now, Giannis is never gonna get hack-a-shacked, but I'm coining the new phrase, hack-a-Giannis. And that's when a player drives to the paint and instead of allowing him to take his 8-foot wingspan above you, to just slap his arms and send him to the line. I don't want Giannis to make 80% of his free throws. 70? 75? At least to where he was midway through his career. For some reason, Giannis has been psyched out the last 3 years when it comes to free throw attempts. So right now, it's very early on, but this is by far the best Bucks team that I have ever seen. And maybe we're looking at a Chris Middleton MVP season. I said it! It's happening! Chris Middleton, put your MVP votes in. He's gonna have a 60, 50, 100 season? Who knows? But if you enjoyed this kind of breakdown of sports, let me know in the comments. I'm kind of experimenting right now to see what kind of format that I enjoy talking in. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, let's go, Bucks!